Hello, welcome to this overview of the cosmic calendar. My name is Julie Wilder. I'm the designer and creator of this calendar now in its 6th edition, and I'm here to give you a tour of the calendar live and in person. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. Let's see, we want to share each one. All right. The first thing I want to let you know is that on my website, spiralspectrum.com, I do have a listing that shows you the calendar, as well as a couple of quick reference guides that I've given you. This one is an overview, and we're going to be going over each of these. It shows you each of the elements of the poster, and then there's another one down here that gives you an overview of what I call the Skyway transit map. And I will be replacing this video here with the one I'm doing right now momentarily. So there's lots of really good stuff and good close-ups in there in case you get stuck or lost. And it should be good. So without further ado, I want to this is my actual design file. I use a program called Adobe Illustrator to make this. And as you can see, I'm going to just go and do a select all. It's pretty intense. There's a lot of stuff going on in there. I have them all in layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to hide all the layers and bring them up one by one so that you can see all of the different elements that are going on here. So let's just go ahead and actually go through and make these invisible. Yep, one by one we shall overcome. Let's see. Take that off. It's going through right here, right? We're gonna rebuild it, okay? Because that's what we do. All right. For some reason, 2018 does not want to be invisible, so we'll keep it up. So we start with a blank slate, okay? And this is how the calendar starts. And then we have a couple of quick reference guides that I want to point out to you. One is the moon legend here at the top, and what it does is it walks you through the cycle of the moon, which mimics nature's patterns of birth all the way through rebirth, shedding and releasing, all of that kind of stuff. A lot of the Farmer's Almanac is based on this. A lot of indigenous societies use this knowledge, and it's gaining popularity amongst a lot of people. So that is one of the legends, so that you can start correlating and planning your activities to align with the moon phases. There's a lot of people out there that do a lot of work with the moon phases, and you can learn more and more from them. As I have, I'll be posting resources up on Spiral Spectrum pages of some of my favorites shortly. Then we have this planet key right here at the bottom. This is a little bit of a new feature for this year to put it in this way. And this basically shows you the solar system that we live in, as well as some key words to understanding what kind of characteristics those planets bring in astrology. They're like archetypes. And the important thing to notice here is that there are these patterned lines, the blue, the green, the red, they all have a different pattern on them. And that correlates to the transit schedule I'm going to show you in a second. So let's turn that one off so that we can just look at these one at a time. Then the next thing is down here, there's another little bit of a key. Oh, I have that one thing on the wrong layer, but actually it's kind of nice to look at that right now. Align yourself with the flow of the cosmic energies at play for ease and grace every day. That's my little poem to remind you that when we're working with the energies and the space weather that is out there impacting us here on Earth, we can go with the flow. We can plan for rainy days and hurricanes, and likewise we can also plan for pleasant space weather and maximize those times. so that we're not stuck indoors. Then at the bottom, I have a little bit of a guide that walks you through what I'm going to walk you through right now. So there's little cues. If you can't remember every single detail of what I say right now, you can look at the bottom of the poster. It gives you a little bullseye target, which shows you each of the nested parts of this poster, and it tells you what each element is, the earth, the seasons, the chakras, all the way through. So it just gives you a little bit of a quick overview, a quick bite so that you can remember. Now, one of the things is, as you notice, a little heart, a little love at the core. There's a song that inspired me to add the heart to this because we need to remember that that's what is at the core of everything here. A friend of mine here in my community, Alexandra, she has an incredible musical career, and one of her songs is called Love is at the Core. I'll try to post that for you guys as well. And then the next thing that we see when we have this calendar in the middle is our Earth representing also the seasons. So you have these beautiful sunflowers here, and those correlate. This is the spring equinox. Over here, this is the summer solstice, this is the autumn equinox, and this is the winter solstice. And as the calendar gets bigger, you'll see that they are actually in alignment with the calendar to the right days of the year. You also have these little yellow diamonds right here, and that is to let you know about the midpoints. There are a lot of pagan and earth-based communities that also have celebrations around the midpoints of the seasons as well. So those are marked on here for you too. And then the next part of this poster is a little bit of a guide to the chakras. As some of you have been following me for a long time now, this calendar was actually inspired by me teaching the Wheel of the Week to my preschool daughter. That was the original inspiration for this entire crazy poster that has totally become awesome. And so I was teaching her the days of the week around the colors. I taught her the colors, the days of the week, and then I'm into chakras, so I decided I would teach her about chakras at the same time. So this was my little Wheel of the Week lesson plan for my preschooler, and now it is included in the middle. I color code the days. As you'll see as we progress on this poster, you'll see that the days are color coded to correspond, so that way you have a visual representation, or more easily able to tell what day of the week it is on the actual circle graph telling you the days. So I'll show you that when we get to it. But for now, just know that this is the wheel at the middle that tells you that. All right, so the next thing, let's zoom out just a little bit here, is the Zodiac Wheel. And so this is a representation of where the zodiac is, and these actually align to the zodiac as it goes, the sun goes around. So you'll notice, you see this spring equinox. Well, that aligns with the beginning of Aries, and the summer solstice begins with the sign of Cancer, and the autumn equinox begins with the sign of Libra, which is the day of balance. And then we get into the winter solstice, and that is when Capricorn begins. So it's aligning. And you've got a couple of things on here. One is just a nice visual representation, a symbol of each of the symbols that the zodiac signs represent. And then as you get closer, you can see another symbol right above these, and these are the actual astrology symbols that are used as opposed to like a more pretty picture down below. This is actually the symbol used in astrology, and those will be important for you to recognize. There's also a very quick description of the constellation and what they're about. I think of constellations as stellar communities. So they are communities of stars, constellations, right? They're a community of stars, and they each have a vibe or something coming from them, just like we have nations here that have particular vibes, social vibes coming from them. So too do the constellations. So as you get to know them, you'll get to know more about them. But my whole thing is to try to get people more in touch with their intuitive knowing. And so I've given you just a few keywords to let you know what the basic starting point is for each of the constellations. But it's really up to each of us to build a personal relationship and do our own research and discern for ourselves what that is all about. Okay, I think all of those are up. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to zoom out a little bit, and we are going to see our day grid. Okay, so this is 365 rays representing each of the days, color coded according to this color coordinated weekly wheel of the week. Okay, so this is 365 days, and it makes the bottom or foundation of what will become our circle graph to plot all of our data. Now, let me just take you back 1 second to the other screen that I have going on here. Share this screen. Because what I'm really going to show you now is what I call the Skyway transit schedule. Okay, so this is kind of it in isolation, and you can see that I'm going to be talking about all of the things that are on this. This is really the juice that makes up. Everything else I just showed you is kind of like a key or a legend. And now this is where the actual data is plotted out. It's a circle graph. So even though it looks really complicated, it's actually not. You just have to think, okay, this is not I think in math, we all were familiar with the 1 or 2 dimensional graphs, right? A simple line is a 1-dimensional graph. 2D is where you have 2 axes, the X and Y axis. Well, this is a circle graph. So it has, I guess, I don't know, is this 4D? I don't even know. But it goes around the entire circle so that we can visually represent it there. Okay, so I just wanted to give you an overview of what we're specifically looking at in this next thing. So I am going to go back and share with you the other screen. Here we go. Okay, so this is the foundation for it. Okay, we have our color-coded by day of the week circle graph. And then the next thing that we add on top of it is, I'm going to close that for a second so that you can really see this next one. This is the orbits of the planets. Now, you will remember if we look down here at the planet key, you will see that the patterns line up. And so this is to give you a visual cue as to what ring represents which planet, okay? And so that is what this is for. So the outside is the sun, and you've got Mercury at the next one here, and then Venus, and so on and so forth. So this is really making up the outside of your grid. Or the kind of like the top. I call this a Skyway transit because if you can correlate it to a subway system that has train lines and a transit schedule, right? You got to know when the arrivals and departures are in which station for the subway. This is the same thing. Instead of trains, though, we have planets on imaginary orbital tracks in the sky. They are predictable tracks, so we can calculate these things. But that is what I want you to correlate this to. So this is basically like if you think of a subway transit schedule that tells you the times of coming and going from a station, this is a Skyway transit schedule that tells you the comings and goings of each of these trains or planets in the sky as it goes through different stations, which is the, when it arrives in a different region, a different constellation, because all of the planets as they're, orbiting and where we're at on Earth, they look like they're in different, the backdrop that they have behind them. That's what they mean when they say, Mars is in Scorpio. That means that Mars, its position in the sky, appears behind it like it's in Scorpio, like the constellation of Scorpio is its backdrop. So then let's see. Then what we do from here is we turn on our moons. Let's see. Now there's a lot going on with our moons that I need to delve into. So I'm going to turn my orbits off for a second, okay? One is, I realized I forgot to show you that there's a Gregorian grid. I'm going to turn that on for a second. So in the middle here is the, what is called the Gregorian grid. Our regular calendar is based on Pope Gregory's rendition of the calendar, which is inaccurate, which is why I am helping us bridge back to natural time. So this is the Gregorian calendar, and as it is on the day rays, I'm going to turn the day rays back on, each of these arrows points to the first day of the month. And you'll notice like Thursday is in February is the first of the month and it's green, and here it is a green Thursday, okay? So this arrow correlates to the first day of the month, and as you go around the circle, it's correlating. All right, I just realized I forgot to tell you that. And so as you can see with our moon phases, I've put the moon phases down on here. You can immediately see January has 2 full moons, as well as 1 full moon. So that is very easy for you to tell from there. So we're going to take that Gregorian calendar off, and I'm also going to take these day rays off just so that we can pay attention for a second to these outside moon phases, which are around the circumference of our transit schedule. They do correlate with the days, okay? So this is showing you, let's turn on a couple of these here. This is showing you what day they fall in, so where they are. Like here we have a total lunar eclipse, and it is happening on the last day of January, which is the 31st. If you follow that yellow line down, it's covered up by the moon over here, but you can see that that is on the 31st, okay? So, but let's focus in for just a minute on, let me take that off, this, because there's something new that I want to show you. We do have the moon phases, and that correlates. You can look at the legend at the top of the poster to help you understand what that is for. But our moon is our lunar like nightlight, okay? And so when it's a dark moon, or it is a bright moon, so a full moon or a dark moon, it's like the mood switch. It's like the dimmer switch for Earth, right? It sets the mood, if you will. And it also has another correlation to it, and that is its proximity to Earth. Now, Earth is got an elliptical, the moon has an elliptical orbit around Earth. It's not a perfect circle. So that means there are times that as it's orbiting, it is actually further away from Earth because it's at the long end of the ellipse, or the oval, if you want to look at it as an oval. And then there's times when it's really close to Earth, that it is at the kind of short side of the ellipse. So that is apogee and perigee. I think I'm saying this right. Apogee is when it is closest to Earth, and that would be when you would get a micromoon. And when it is furthest in its orbit from Earth, that is when you get a supermoon. So I have this year been able to chart out for you with this dotted zigzag line that goes all the way around. You will be able to see when it is closest to Earth and when it is furthest away. So basically, very, very close to this total lunar eclipse, we are at the closest proximity to Earth. And then when you get to this outside edge over here, that is when it is the furthest away. I will point out to you right now that around the new year, that is when the moon is the closest. So you have the closest moon that is also the brightest. So if you think about a flashlight that's 20 feet away from you versus a flashlight that's in your face, that's what we're talking about in terms of intensity, okay? So we have intensity, and it's a full moon, so that'll be something fun. So that actually goes around this entire circumference here. You can see that zigzag line, and you can also pay attention to the fact that there are lunar and solar eclipses. They usually come in pairs. And I just want to show you something right now, that this is the solar eclipse, is across from, I got to get a line here. You get a good thick line. So these are across from each other in the year, because basically that's just how it works. And then the same thing goes for the lunar eclipses. They are also across from each other in the year. You guys see that? It's a little pattern there going on. Oh, let's see, total lunar eclipse. Yeah, and so this is another year that we have three. We have two partials and a total lunar eclipse. So they basically mirror each other in the year. And a lot of times we have two that comes in two pairs, but sometimes it's so close that we get to two types of solar or lunar eclipses. And that ends up being three eclipses in a row. So this one is at the bottom here is a partial solar eclipse followed by a total lunar eclipse, followed by a partial solar eclipse again. So that is that part of it. And next, let me close out my colors here. Next, we have dun, 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 shooting stars. That's right. I looked up the major meteor showers visible throughout the entire year. And what I have done is I have put them at the star itself represents the day that it peaks, but usually meteor showers take a day or two or three or four to have their intense things. Now, what's really interesting about meteor showers is how is it visible? Okay, well, maybe these are visible in the night sky. However, the moon is full and that reduces the visibility, right? So what is great about this is because these meteor showers are right next to the moon phases. So you can tell, like this is one that is in November. It is on a yellow day towards the beginning of the week, and it's on a new moon, which is the 7th of November down here. And that tells you that you're going to have as long as there's no clouds out in the sky, you're going to have a really good opportunity of catching some meteor showers and getting to see a whole bunch of shooting stars. So I'm really excited about that option. My friend who's an astronomy geek was like, you should put the meteor showers on there. And I was like, well, I can't believe I haven't done that yet. So here we go. So that's a new one for this edition in 2018. So we've got meteor showers, we've got moon phases, we've got all of the days of the week. We've got our Gregorian grid that goes around here, our seasons, as you can see, well, maybe not yet because I have to turn the orbits on. Okay, so let's go back here to the orbits. I'm going to take some of this down. Oh, it's kind of hard to see that, isn't it? Let's see, maybe we'll leave some of this on. I'll just get closer. Okay, we're going to close it. So now I've got most of this visible to you so that you can see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to magically turn on my transits. Okay, I'm going to turn them off. I'm going to turn them on. I'm going to turn them off. I'm going to turn them on. Okay, so you see them coming up, right? One thing that you will note, top of the year is right up here, okay? At the beginning of the year, this is not every single planet transitioning into a new sign, I promise you. This is just, hey, everyone, this is where each planet is starting in. So where is it located in, right? And so let's not forget, so we zoom in here. Okay, I'm going to get really close. Okay, so these are my zodiac symbols, okay? I'm going to go down here. This matches Capricorn, okay? So that's how you know what is going on. These little round buttons that have the symbols in it, that says, this is the staff that tells you where everything starts. So this is the sun. This is the pattern for the orbit for the sun, and it starts the year in Capricorn. Hint, it always starts the year in Capricorn because it's the sun, and that's our solar year. And then this is Mercury, and it starts, I happen to know that's the symbol for Sagittarius. Venus starts the year in Capricorn. Mars and Jupiter both start the year in, oh gosh, I think that's Scorpio. Sometimes I get confused, but that's why I have a key right here. Yes, that is Scorpio. I was right. See, I'm a visual person and I need the cues, you guys. And then we also have Saturn starting in Capricorn. This one is Aries. This is Uranus or Pluto. I can never remember. And so on and so forth. Okay. And then as we go around the year, what you're going to find out is, okay, now they start doing what's called the transit, meaning they transit from one constellation to the next. Now, they all go around the constellation in order. So you're going to see a planet that starts in Capricorn is going to move into Aquarius, is going to move into Pisces, is going to move into Aries, is going to keep going around this circle. Same thing. So Mercury starts the year in Sagittarius, and which is right here. And then he goes into Capricorn right here on, this is a green day, the second green day in the year. So that would be January 11th. Mercury goes into Capricorn. And then you see how Capricorn's right down here. What's next? Aquarius. Aha, that is the sign for Aquarius. And here it is going into Aquarius, right? And then, aha, it goes into, here's the sign for Pisces. It goes into Pisces, okay? So that is how you know where things are at in the sky. Now, I do have all of the seasonal markers kind of special. It tells you right there. And then I also have the retrograde motions. Now, here we go, retrograde. You will notice that the orbit pattern itself changes to kind of like this backward triangle thing, like, hey, we're backing up. It also has, this is the symbol for our X, which, as you will maybe recognize, is the symbol used in medicine for prescriptions. It's a remedy. That's right. Our retrograde symbols are remedies. And so you will see that each of the retrograde periods, it starts with that little R button. And when that retrograde period ends, let's find an end. Here is Jupiter ending its retrograde down here in July. And that one goes direct, and I have the arrow pointing forward, and then the orbit returns to its original pattern. Okay, so that is how you can see the retrograde periods. Let's see. Okie dokie. What do I need to tell you next? Oh, so we were talking about how the planets go around in order. Well, let me explain one more thing. Let's use Mercury as an example. Here we are. Mercury has been trotting along. It went from Pisces into Aries is the next one, and then it goes retrograde. And I will tell you what it's doing as it's going retrograde. It looks like it's going retrograde at the very, very end of that sign. So as it's going retrograde, it's moving back along towards Aries, okay? And it looks like it goes direct right before it actually reverts back to the next sign. So what you have is an extra long period of time where Mercury is in Aries, okay? So let me show you here, because usually Mercury takes about 3 weeks, right? To go through each sign. Well, because it goes retrograde, it spends an extra large amount of time because it goes all the way back into Aries, and then it has to move all the way forward through Aries again until it hits Taurus, okay? And Mercury usually does 3 retrograde periods a year, and that is what is going on. Here is an example. This is one of the ones I want to show you. So here's the third retrograde period of the year, and it goes retrograde about, right, it's in Sagittarius, so it's traveling all the way back to Sagittarius. It hits back into, it double dips. You see, it was in Scorpio here, then it goes into Sagittarius, and then it goes all the way back so that it hits Scorpio again, and then it has to travel out of Scorpio and back into Sagittarius. So I'm trying to show you that that's why it does it looks like it's doing a backward loop from where we're at, because it looks like the backdrop behind it is changing. It's all, you have to actually see a whole video on that just to see how that works. But that's enough of an explanation for now. So that is our retrograde periods. And I think I've explained all of the elements. That wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I'm so excited. And I hope that you are able to now see, like, let's go back to, let me see, do a new share with this screen again. I hope that you're able now, when you look at these quick reference guides, now that I've shown it to you without all the other stuff turned on at the same time, that when you look at both of these things, it makes you, helps you understand what is actually going on in these guides. Because the next thing is to actually have you begin to use the calendar. And I will tell you a couple of quick ways that I use the calendar right now. One is I immediately look for retrograde periods and where they're stacked up in the year, because I found that when a lot of planets are in retrograde, particularly the planets that are closest to us on Earth, then it can cause a lot of chaos in a lot of different ways. And so there's this, and honestly, I haven't even analyzed next year. So let's see. Yeah, we've got a pretty good stack right here. We've in the summer, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets in retrograde right here in July and August. It's mostly the further away planets, though, so it'll be more of an influence in terms of national or global issues as opposed to personal or familial issues, because the closer families impact us more on those ways, but the further away planets impact us just a little bit differently because they're closer. We're thinking about proximity here, right? And so that leads me to the first couple of months. We have, gosh, I always forget the color codes of planets, which is why I have my key at the bottom here. So that's Uranus, the purple planet. He's retrograde. You can't see it because this is not 2017, this is 2018, but it is retrograde 2017, and it goes direct on the 2nd, okay? So from the 2nd all the way until March, Green Day, full moon, oh no, that's Green Day, that's the 2nd Green Day, the 8th. So the 8th of March is when Jupiter goes retrograde. So we have over 2 months without any planets in retrograde. And I can tell you from past experience, that means that anything that wants to happen will happen. And you better be ready to hit the ground running when the new year happens, because everything's going to go fast for the first 2 months. It's going to be rapid. Get ready, get prepared, and make sure that you're okay to take advantage of all of the opportunities that might present themselves the first 2 months of the year. So I am going to go ahead and turn back on my legends so that we can see the entire thing. That is my overview of the cosmic calendar. I hope that you have enjoyed watching it. And I am excited that you took your time to at least get to this part of the video. You can go to spiralspectrum.com and look at more details. There are links at the bottom to the Etsy shop and throughout. That is something kind of cool and exciting. The calendars got me into Real Simple magazine in September of 2017, as well as a New York Times bestselling book called Side Hustles. Who knew? Kind of crazy for this thing. I just started teaching my kid about the days of the week. So I'm really excited and happy to have gotten that kind of national recognition for these really fun products. And so there's also, I'm going to be, my next video I'm going to be making is for the Lunisolar Calendar. This one is to plot out, I'll just show you real quick, same basic theories. But this one, instead of having planets on it, it is focused on the moon transits. So instead of planet transits through constellations, it is how the moon transits through constellations, which is every 2.5 days. And it gives you the exact time of those moon transits, as well as the exact times of the full, new, and quarter moons. Still has meteor showers on it. So that one's really fun too. Oh, and I also have a really cool shirt. All of those are available in my Etsy shop. And I got a lot of cool products, not just these calendars I've shown you, but I made a new Mercury retrograde mug because why not? There's a red tent inspired moon phase shirt and bag and print. And also this calendar, I've partnered with Printful to do print on demand if you want a bigger one. I have a ton of these posters that are 18 by 24 sitting at my house that I fulfill, but some people have requested the bigger one and a bigger one. And so those are made when you place the order, they print it and ship it to you themselves. But some people wanted that. So I was able to figure out a way to make that happen. Even though my thing is printing these 18 by 24s. So thank you so much for listening. And I really appreciate any of you that might share this or tag your friends in it or something like that. This is a reunion technology in order to get us to be more aligned with nature's time as opposed to the artificial time that civic calendar gives us, and get us to be more in tune, because as we are more connected and we're able to be aware of the cosmic energies and learn how to dance with it, then we will have our own inner authority. We're closer to our intuition, and we're far less likely to go astray and do things that are not good and healthy for us. So thank you so much. Stay tuned. Lunisolar Calendar is next, and probably one on the Mystic Moon after that.